Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Firstly, I don't want to sound like a stuck record, but I'm going to sound like a stuck record. Because if there's one time when you can guarantee everyone from the conference is going to be in the same room, it's when there's free food available. And so this seems like a very good opportunity to promote the app once again. We hope to do a live forecasting session with as many of 800 experts as we possibly can in the proliferation prognostication panel this afternoon. We really want everyone to take part. You need the app to do so. If you don't have a smartphone, we will loan you an iPad free of charge, providing you give it back. So go to the app help desk. If you don't know your username, go to the app help desk. If you don't know your password, go to the app help desk. If you can download the app and get it to work, but you don't know how to use it, show up to proliferation prognostication on time, and we'll give you a detailed tutorial there about how to do so. Now on to the main business of lunch. It's George and my enormous pleasure to announce the winner of the second Thérèse Delpech Memorial Award. Thérèse, as many of you round here will know, was a hugely influential public intellectual, government official, mentor, provocateur, and general gadfly who died in 2012. And a couple of years ago at the 2013 conference, we created this award in her memory. The inaugural winner on that occasion was Ambassador Linton Brooks, who we're pleased to have in the audience today. And this year we for the first time, convened a selection committee to choose the winner. The selection committee consists of 2 people from Carnegie, myself and George, and 3 external members. Heather Williams from King's College London, last year's winner Linton Brooks, and Nicolas Roche, who holds Thérèse's old job at the Commissariat à l'Énergie Atomique. Apologies for the pronunciation. We also invited nominations this year, and we were exceptionally selective in who we allowed nominations from. Anyone involved in nuclear policy in any capacity in any country was entitled to nominate. By definition, that includes everyone in this room. And I want to say now that we're going to do the same process next year, and I encourage you now to think about who you would like to nominate for next year's award. Particularly if you're outside the US or Western Europe, I would encourage you to think about nominating in 2 years. If you want to know when nominations are open, sign up to Proliferation News, our twice-weekly newsletter, or follow me on Twitter on @James_Acton32. This year we received nominations for 8 separate people from a larger number of nominators, so I was absolutely thrilled how much attention the award drew this year. And the purpose of this award is to thank somebody for exceptional service to the non-governmental policy community. This is partly about important publications, but much more often it's about the time-consuming and often unrecognized work needed to sustain and strengthen our community. Mentoring young men and women, constructively critiquing the work of others, creating fora for discussions, building networks, and acting generally in a spirit of friendship, collegiality, and respect. And every one of the 8 people who were nominated for this year's winner, I genuinely mean I think would have been a worthy winner. The actual winner of this year's competition, I knew that he'd done a lot, but until I started reading the nominations, I had no idea quite how much he had actually done. I'm going to introduce the winner. George is going to talk about him at a bit more length. This year's winner has been involved in nuclear arms control since the Carter administration. He's also a Boston Red Sox fan, and I can only assume that he was prepared for the perennial disappointment of arms control by those years supporting the Red Sox. Though clearly, as recent history demonstrates, sometimes disappointment turns into success. He's worked on the Hill, in the executive branch, and is a prolific author. But it's his work in building networks, creating fora for discussion, and mentoring is the primary reason why we're presenting him with this year's award. He's been central to creating civil society networks that have supported arms control goals, including the conclusion of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, US ratification of the Chemical Weapons Convention, and probably most importantly, the indefinite extension of the NPT. He founded the Stimson Center and ran it for 11 years. The Stimson Center, to my mind, is the biggest small think tank in Washington, and its research is widely respected across the spectrum. Setting up and running this kind of organization is an utterly thankless activity, and one for which we owe this year's winner a huge debt of gratitude. This year's winner is a mentor to many, particularly to South Asian next-generation experts, and has provided an invaluable service to the world by arranging a fellowship program where Indian and Pakistani younger experts work together. Those of you who read Arms Control Wonk will know this year's winner as the eminence grise par excellence. To those who don't read Arms Control Wonk, he's Michael Crapon.
So I will be brief because James did a good job of setting out some of the predicates for why the committee felt that Michael was so deserving of this award. I'll just add a couple of things. James alluded to it, but setting up an independent think tank without an endowment is a very daunting task. And Barry Bleckman, who's here, and Michael set about to do that with the Stimson Center 25 years ago. Making one or setting one up that lasts 25 years is an even more significant and difficult to achieve accomplishment. And they've done that. The Stimson Center is flourishing, and that has provided so many opportunities for young scholars to enter the field, to get significant publications underway, to become known nationally and internationally. So in many ways, it's been an incubator of talent, which again goes to the criteria for this award. Another thing that wasn't mentioned, but happened shortly after, 5 years after we started Stimson, there was a sense, and Michael kind of led this, that the 1995 conference to review the Nuclear Nonproliferation Treaty was going to be a significant juncture. This, for those of you who don't follow these issues, which is a few of us here, the treaty could have expired in 1995. So the decision was going to have to be what to do with it, whether to extend it, and how. And so Michael led an effort in 1994 to create a coalition of US-based NGOs that would dedicate itself to working together and coordinating activities to push for the extension, the indefinite extension of the treaty. And that effort ended up being housed at the Stimson Center. And in many ways, it's Michael who's to blame for unleashing Joe Cirincione on the NGO world, because Joe was working in government in the House of Representatives before that, and was then recruited in 1994 to lead the coalition to reduce nuclear danger, which then worked throughout 94 and 95 to help promote the indefinite extension of that treaty. Another thing that Michael has done that, again, is less well known is kind of build a position around the code of conduct, or a code of conduct for space, which in many ways is kind of an uncharted frontier, especially for international management. And the interest in preventing conflict emanating from space is an important one. And Michael, in a very kind of unsung way, carved out this initiative, this area, and has pushed governments or led governments to pursue this idea further and really put it into international play. James mentioned also the work with South Asian fellows that were brought to the Stimson Center, many of them young and aspiring scholars and policymakers, but also they set up a program with the Strategic Plans Division to create fellowships. So Khalid Benouri, who I believe is still here, and others could come for several months and do work at Stimson, get to understand the way at least this community works on these issues. And that kind of cultivation of talent was something that Thérèse was very keen on. So in all of these ventures, there's kind of a similarity in terms of leadership, intellectual leadership, creativity that harkens to Thérèse Delpech, for whom this award is named. And then the last one, I think, is in many ways the most important. For those of you who had the fortune of knowing Thérèse, you would, I think, agree that she was one of the most stubborn people that you could ever have met. And she was stubborn in this wonderful way that makes humanity better because she was morally stubborn. Not stubborn necessarily in getting her own way, not stubborn in pursuing her own kind of career interests, but morally stubborn. So if she saw something that was wrong, she was going to have to fight it and nag people and push people until at least they got tired enough to recognize that there was an issue, even if they couldn't be persuaded. And when she saw that there was right that needed to be done, that became her cause, and woe be it to anybody who got in her way. And Michael has that stubbornness. He has stubbornness that's not just morally inspired, but his family's here. Sandra, his wife, his son Josh, daughter Misha is in California with a newborn, and Michael's sisters and in-laws are here, so they can attest to all of his qualities of stubbornness. But I think the moral stubbornness is the one that has benefited this community and the international system that deals with these issues the most. And I think, for me anyway, that's the clearest echo of Thérèse's voice is there. So let me welcome Michael. Can you get this? You want to do that? Yeah, you do it. Oh. Here, so we're just going to do this, and then you can do that. Oh, wait, hold on. Actually, hold on, that's stupid. It makes it look like I got it.
Thank you. You know, when I first met George, I was a little put off. How could somebody that young be that talented? But I got over it. I've already forgotten what I want to say. The Carnegie Endowment sets the bar for all of us, especially in this field. How high is that bar? How long did it take you to get here? And look around you. You're all here. My admiration for the work of the Carnegie Endowment is boundless. As is true for my wife of 40 years, who is making a rare appearance in Washington, D.C. If you haven't heard Thérèse Delpech's voice, go online. As has been said, she was a very strong woman with a fierce intellect. And her views had intercontinental range. And she was the embodiment of meaningful work in our community. Meaningful work is the thread that connects all of us here. We have been granted the gift of meaningful work, which is huge. I know, I'll get over this. I know that all work is meaningful if it puts food on the table. My parents did meaningful work without college educations. And they left a very distinct impression with me and my sisters, Carol and Belle Ruth, that they expected us to do meaningful work too, that was more meaningful than what was available to them. Think about the meaningful work that our community has done. The last nuclear explosion on a battlefield was in 1945. That's meaningful work. Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, meaningful work. The permanent 5 members of the Security Council haven't tested in about 20 years, some cases more. The United States and the Soviet Union managed ideological, geopolitical adversaries. We managed to control, limit, reduce, in some cases eliminate the most powerful delivery systems in our arsenals. And when the Soviet Union dissolved, not one nuclear detonation. Non-proliferation treaties, nuclear, chemical, biological, they're outliers. There are always going to be outliers. Without these agreements, everybody would be an outlier. This is amazing work. It's our work. And this work has been derided from day one as being idealistic, naive, and contrary to U.S. national security interests and international security interests. All of this work, fierce opposition. Even the Non-Proliferation Treaty had opposition because we couldn't arm our allies. This is an amazing body of work, our work, under intense stress. In our business, progress is never linear. And obviously, we're in hard times. So the following, I think, needs to be said, because the same set of critiques are now being leveled against a nuclear limitation arrangement with Iran by the same people. So let's be clear. Our aims are true. We have fallen short of accomplishing our aims. Even so, the results are extraordinary. We have made the world a safer place. Thank you. Well done. was doing it.